Speaking with Mike Rosenthal, a member of the faculty at Monument Mountain Regional High School. He's an English teacher and has worked on several grants from the Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence in the areas of poetry and theater. And these are ways to enrich the student experience and the experience for faculty as well, as are many of the grants from this organization. So we're going to get some details from Mike about exactly what happened, the project involved, how the funding helped, and how the students benefited. So Mike, why don't you take us through initially, let's talk about the poetry and how these funds were able to help you bring the world of poetry to students.
Well, the Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence grants that I received over a 4-year period for my after-school poetry program were indispensably valuable to the work I did with students both after school and the work I was able to integrate into the classroom with my regular English students because of what I had learned through the expert guest artists who I was able to bring in and pay for to come to Monument and teach me and the students about the art of competitive spoken word poetry known as slam poetry. There were 2 people I brought from New York City and was able to pay for their transportation from New York City to come up to Great Barrington here and give workshops for our Mass Hysteria program, our after-school poetry program, and it was, again, instrumental in preparing the students and myself to compete in a 200-school poetry competition called Louder Than a Bomb in Boston for 3 years in a row. In spoken word competition, youth spoken word competition, there are 4 individual rounds, which means you could have 4 individual poets, and then you have a group round. You have a group poem, so you're judged by those really 5 bouts, as they call them. And yeah, I needed the preparation from experts who had competed at the highest levels of professional slam poetry to help my group really find a direction as a team and become confident as a competitive group of poets. The poets really formed a tight-knit bond because of spoken word poetry. They went deeply inside their own experiences courageously to share their lives and to give their testimony on what was going on in their lives. So it really became this very honest mirror into the life of an adolescent that very, very few other formats could even come close to capturing. So it was an intensely personal, I would argue it was a therapeutic outlet and extremely cathartic for all involved, of course myself included. So I've collaborated with the Barrington Stage Company out in Pittsfield for 8 years now, and many of those field trips were funded in large part because of Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence grants. And this is a special cultural and educational experience for my students, primarily my 9th grade students, where they go to see very high quality regional theater, usually new plays or contemporary plays. And not only do they get to experience the theater, but they get to converse and interact with the actors and the director and sometimes the artistic director, and in the most recent field trip, the playwright himself. They get to question and experience what it takes to make a successful artistic production. So it really goes behind the curtain and gives them a wonderful experience that they wouldn't get even if they saw the production on their own in the evening. Well, I would wholeheartedly recommend applying for a Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence grant for any program that contains a unique vision or that the educator believes could be especially beneficial for the students in a way that they cannot receive in the regular education classroom. Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence is all about ennobling and empowering visions of individual educators and community members. And I know I certainly benefited prodigiously from the Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence group, and I believe that unique educational visions, progressive educational visions, are dependent on the funding from generous, benevolent organizations like Berkshire Hills Fund for Excellence. They give you wings as an educator. They truly do.